Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again it's time for Canada's favorite nerd. It's the Nonya Nerd Show. And today, it's Siggin in Boston at Siggraph 2006. It had been some time since Nonya had gone to Siggraph, and with the conference within driving range, it was the year to make the pilgrimage. Whether you went for the arts, technology, the Red Sox, or a tea party, there was plenty to dig about Boston. Just checking out this guy's portable PC in the waiting line, Nonya knew that he was in the right place. So it's lights, camera, and action time. So let's get down with some of the new interactive and graphics technology at Siggraph 2006. Siggraph is about art, interactive interface, and three-dimensional electronic tools. It was refreshing to see a number of artists show up to Siggraph with their PCs. There was good reason for this. Siggraph allows artists to both interact and work directly with many of the technologies on display at the event. Nowhere was this more apparent than inside Siggraph's Gorilla Studio. It's a room where tools are available that artists can use to create new forms of electronic media. Here, they're invited to sit down and take our workstation or tool and create something with it. They do it with a clear view of all the other tools and activities occurring in the space. These tools, materials, and projects range across scanners, sensors, networks, specialized computer devices, lasers, and LEDs. The studio even contains non-electronic mediums such as cloth, water, or off-the-shelf toys. Artists use the studio to gain an understanding of the operation of new tools or materials and eventually connect it to their area of interest. To find out where some of these technologies originated, the Siggraph trade show floor was the place to go. It provides one a better sense of the kinds of tools and technology that were shown at Siggraph and offers a one-of-a-kind look at advances and the state-of-the-art in this area. These Diamond Touch interactive tables from Mitsubishi definitely fit the bill. By simply touching and interacting with the table surface, one can interact with electronic media in a manner normally reserved for a mouse. Another interactive table used these digital pens developed by Maxell Corporation to interact with projected media on the table surface. To change a pen's function or screen color, these cool palettes are employed, making it the ideal collaborative work surface. And for those who like their interactive services on the vertical, Eon Reality Inc. was displaying these interactive devices. Interaction on these services, which looks like some form of sleight-of-hand magic, is actually sensed by this array of cameras arranged behind the glass. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Here, this model plane that was used in an actual corporate demonstration employs embedded sensors to control the direction of the 3D model for the projector. Louisiana State Robotics Lab had developed this retro 3D interface that used RFID tags. By slipping various cards into the controller that can be identified by its RFID tag, different 3D control functions can be employed by this controller to operate the attached 3D software. RFID? I'm down with that. Haptics and 6 degrees of freedom appeared to be the buzzwords in the area of 3D interface. For the mouse interface, this involved more buttons to reflect the environment relating to 3D. Also of interest were a variety of devices that were haptic in nature. Haptic devices provide interactive feedback via the interface. In this application, Haption's Virtuo 6D device would not allow the operator to thread this auto part incorrectly. The controls simply would not budge in instances where the part hit a screen-based 3D surface or got stuck in the virtual pathway. A huge area at Siggraph is in the area of 3D modeling and scanning. With just about every movie employing some form of 3D integration or cleanup, there were plenty of products on display. Evolver from Darwin Dimensions was one such product. It provides the basic body parts to quickly create your own model. Once created, the model can be licensed from Darwin and then exported into most 3D animation programs. If licensing is not your bag, then scanning 3D objects is the next best thing. NextEngine's desktop 3D scanner was one such device. Not only could it scan 3D objects, but it could photograph and provide the matching skins as well. Another interesting product was Real Illusion's Crazy Talk version 4.5. It could take a still image and by adding an audio file, bring it to life with moving lips, blinking eyes, and various emotive expressions. Why, it can even make Nonya move and talk. Awesome! Of course, scanning a real face has always created a bit of a conundrum. So specially purposed technology, in this case by Accurex, suited the purpose. Their Breukman 2 camera face scan captures 1 million 3D points in less than a second. It also includes the ability to photograph the object and provide color imaging on the scan. This whole area of scanning led to another huge area of interest at Siggraph, that being 3D printing. 3D printing allows one to create solid prototypes derived from 3D models. Zen Corporation was showing their complete solution that would make use of their Zen Scanner 700, built as the world's first self-positioning 3D laser scanner. Being the first part of their production workflow, they showed how it could be used to scan the superhero's hand that had been part of a costume. Later, their 3D printers could be employed to create a solid prototype. Here one can see a running shoe that was scanned with their scanner, and next to it, the solid model of the shoe that their printer created. There were a variety of 3D printers at Siggraph, employing different methods to build their 3D models. This printer by Solidscape used various forms of plastic and waxes to create all sorts of models. Others used materials that would build the model up over time, layer by layer, while other 3D printers would mechanically carve models out of a block of solid materials. Boy, I wonder when they are going to make a model out of Nonya. With all of the 3D modeling and manipulation technology about, rendering could not be far behind. With SGI being the rage at the last Siggraph Nonya attended, they were almost non-existent this time around. That said, there were plenty of other contenders with render nodes and rendering software that were picking up the slack. AGI was making their first appearance at a major trade show, having just been purchased by CPU giant AMD. With graphic cards having gotten so powerful, SGI must have missed a market shift, as the GPU is now one of the largest semiconductor market segments. Given the imminent amalgamation of the CPU and GPU, today's graphics power is in the middle of a revolution. Nowhere at Siggraph was a revolution in GPUs more evident than at NVIDIA. Well known for their graphic cards, and with a corporate countdown to the sale of their 500 millionth processor, NVIDIA announced a quantum leap in visual computing with the launch of their Quadroplex 1000. This sexy standalone box is the world's first dedicated visual computing system. Boasting a 20 times leap in graphics computation per cubic inch, it can be deployed as a desktop workspace or transformed to fit into a rack environment. It was definitely hot. When equipped with NVIDIA's pure video technology, the Model 3 desktop environment could be equipped with SDI connectors and output real-time video up to 372. That's 2K digital cinema. Smokin'! And if you remember the old SDI fridges, then you'll love it when you see that these individual units can scale and be rack-mounted together. At Siggraph, NVIDIA was demonstrating 14 Quadroplex 1000s rack-mounted in this enclosure. Many of the displays of the desktop units were remoted via this cable tray to another area of the booth. But you didn't have to be an NVIDIA, Pixar, or Lucasfilm to be a player in the rendering area. Arts VBS, a company that manufactures in-hardware rendering technology, employs these specialized boxes. They were showing these synthetic images that Nonya could not believe weren't real. Awesome! Following the yellow brick road a little further, Nonya came across a number of OpenVG-enabled handheld devices. OpenVG provides low-power graphics acceleration for vector graphic libraries such as Flash and SVG on portable, small-screen handheld devices. Portable small devices? Handy! While speaking of hands, the world of data gloves and motion capture has really evolved. MetaMotion was showing their Gypsy Motion and Gypsy 5 bodysuit products along with their loaded 14-sensor data glove. New Brunswick's Measure Hand was showing their Shape Hand. It's a portable, lightweight hand motion capture system, along with their Siggraph 2 body system. Check it out! Their Siggraph doesn't make you look like the Tin Man. Hold the oil, Dorothy. Turkey's Yogurt Computer Technologies was showing a software image-based motion capture system. It can employ up to 8 pre-recorded video camera angles that would work with the computer to compute the motion capture data. Like Yogurt systems, RealViz Movimento also use standard video cameras to record camera motion data. According to RealViz, this can be done with as little as 2 cameras, and the motion data could be computed with a standard Windows computer. Their system allowed for cameras to be fixed or moving. They even reported that cameras of different frame rate and of different definitions could be used. And if you're in the market for small video cameras for your motion capture system, Point Grey Research is your one-stop shop. They manufacture a variety of cameras that have varying frame rates and include cameras that can directly interface to 1394B connections. This array of Point Grey cameras is perfect for capturing motion data. Their Bumblebee 2 system can generate stereo vision using these cameras. Also cool is their 6-camera, Bubba-shaped Ladybug 2 camera that records using Firewire 1394B and shoots spherical video. Whoa, I guess I'm not in Kansas anymore. Out of sight. With all of this new technology, it was time for Nonya to take a mental break. Nonya thought he'd look at more of the traditional technologies that he was used to. However, at Siggraph, there's no rest for the weary. And it didn't take long until Nonya ran into more advances in just about every area. Siggin was demonstrating their new HD-capable virtual set technology called Prevision. Their system employs this above-camera pattern grid that's sensed to provide the data for the camera movement for the virtual set solution. The Natural Vision booth was showing a multispectral movie captured with 6-band HD TV. 6-band HD TV? What's that? It turns out that Natural Vision employs 6 primary colors for image capture, transmission, distribution, archiving, and display. That's twice the count against conventional RGB-based systems. The result is supernatural images with true color, gloss, and texture that can be transmitted through conventional telecommunication systems. For 4K intermediate storage, DVS was showing Clipster, their real-time 10-pin 4K playback. It was being displayed on a monitor at 3840 by 2400 resolution. The booth also featured software and an interface that allowed for 4K clip-based trimming and 4K clip playback. As an alternate, Cold Digit was showing their S2 VR Pro. It's a video rate solution that records 10-bit 1080 60i 4444 video onto 10 high-speed SATA 3GB hard drives. Cheap SATA hard drives? Now there's the future of storage. In the area of collaboration, Lux Corporation was showing a software package called Fusion. It combined both Maya and CATIA software packages and had them interacting together on common data in the same environment. Wow! Ever think we'll see Avid and Final Cut Pro working in a manner like this? If we do, then I'll know I'm over the rainbow. Caligari was on site, demonstrating how TrueSpace 7 also plays in the collaborative space. Their environment provides multiple users at remote locations the opportunity to make use of TrueSpace's suite of tools and work together to build and complete an application. While on the topic of collaboration, SyncView makes the remote collaborative review and approval of the editing process simple using Skype. Multiple people can simultaneously view and annotate local copies of the same media file in perfect sync from different locations, whether separated by cubicles, city blocks, or continents. Well, if you thought your journey to Oz has ended, you couldn't be more wrong. It's now time to join Nonya in Wonderland to see what was truly neat and new at Siggraph 2006. DisplayPort is a new interconnect cable that is comprised of a slim plug and very thin wire that should work with just about everything. The signals can employ 128-bit encryption, and the technology has been designed to carry 10.8 gigabits per second. And if you think size matters, the standard has been designed for cable lengths 50 feet long. This overcomes length limitations associated with HDMI, VGA, USB, and FireWire cable standards. One standout was a new line of high dynamic range displays from Brightside. When looking at their displays, their output was noticeably brighter. HDR imagery involves two parts to the process. First, in creating an HDR image, 3 bracketed pictures are taken. One at normal exposure, plus one underexposed, and one overexposed. In a post-process, the three images are combined to provide a much higher dynamic range in the finished image. To produce a brighter image, bright side displays use IMLED. That's an individually modulated array of LED backlights. They produce a contrast range that's 10 times higher than conventional displays at 200,000 to 1. Boy, with this display, I'll need to wear my sunglasses at night. Open source was sizzling hot at this year's Siggraph, driven by major advances in the Linux platform. However, the advances in Linux were overshadowed by cross-platform open source, GNU, and Creative Commons software packages that are starting to pick up some steam. Jashaka was in the open source pavilion, showing their latest open source 2.0 video editing software. The Jashaka player was also shown. It's a professional-grade media player capable of playing uncompressed video and image sequences at resolutions as high as 2K and 4K in real time. It features image analysis tools, provides basic editorial functions, and is based entirely on new source code that is Python-based. Jashaka is free software and is being written to run cross-platform on OS X, Windows, and Linux platforms. With the release of the world's first animated open-source feature film Elephant's Dream having been made exclusively on open-source software, those working at the Blender Foundation were buzzing. Blender was the open-source 3D software package that was employed exclusively in the making of the movie. Universe was also on site. Universe is a project that was started in 2004 with the goal to create an open-source IP-based platform that will interconnect high-quality 3D graphics as well as high-quality 3D audio and acoustic simulation. It will combine the Verse 3D network protocol and OpenSG to provide a common standard for 3D tools. The hope is that it will allow for a multi-user collaborative environment around motion capture, plugins, and interconnect between closed and open architecture for virtual reality and gaming development. The booth also showed open source software such as the GNU image manipulation program, better known as the GIMP. Other emerging software found in the booth was Inkscape, a vector graphic editor similar to Adobe Illustrator, Acusis, a RenderMan-compliant rendering solution, and Pixie, a photorealistic renderer. Meanwhile, back on the show floor, Total Immersion's diffusion real-time rendering and tracking software allowed one to insert real-time 3D objects into live video. They called it augmented reality, and they were showing everything, from 3D models that would cling to the live video of this slate, to 3D elements that were being applied automatically to people's faces. They even showed a training application in which the person works with the actual materials and is led through the training process by a personal 3D monitor that guides the student through the steps. Spherion VR was showing one of the most amazing still cameras that Nonya had ever seen. It collects more data than your average camera, with some of it stored as metadata. And what you can do with the combination of high-quality imagery and data is truly miraculous. First, the camera is a spherical camera, meaning when you set it up, it rotates and takes a complete 360 by 180 panorama of the scene. The camera has no viewfinder because it's displayed and controlled by a motorized camera head that connects to a laptop's USB connection. It shoots a whopping 50 megapixel image and records a complete dynamic range of 26 f-stops of data. That's 96 bits per pixel. When completed, an image file records a total of 2 gigapixels of data to the laptop's hard drive including its GPS position. There's no problem extracting HDR images from this camera's dataset. What's really cool about this camera software is through pixel triangulation, the image can be activated to provide 3D data. It does this by measuring the difference in the angle from the center of one image to a given point in the center of another image. This means a complete 3D model of the space can be handed off to programs like Maya for film work or for inserting photorealistic 3D models into the scene. Unreal! And finally, Microsoft Live Labs PhotoSynth was really cool. It could collect any number of images of a location, even those posted on the web, and stitch them together and create a 3D model of the location. How sweet is that? With the show floor finally completed, Nonya quickly discovered that the emerging technologies area at Siggraph is where things really heated up. This strange-looking form is a true 3D object being illuminated in thin air. Created by Burton Inc., this device creates the illusion by focusing strong laser beams to the point where air plasma emission can be induced, creating the light. Tablescape 2 was a unique demonstration of something called upstanding tiny displays on tabletop display. It allowed for a variety of South Park-like cartoon characters to be moved around a table on these little displays. The little displays that contained embedded sensors also acted as interactive input devices. When characters were connected together, they would start interacting with one another, creating stories. Hey! It's just like The Sims. This novel gyro-based haptic device was from out of this world. It could be programmed to provide a pushing or pulling sensation when held in your hand. Future applications of this technology could include it being embedded in a GPS device. It would pull you in the right direction should you get lost somewhere. How Star Trek is that? Mitsubishi Electric Research Lab was showing a prototype of a high-speed motion detection system. The system employs sensors called receiving tags that consist of parts that cost $11. Likewise, the projectors are manufactured from parts that total $50. The system scans as high as 500 frames per second and can follow precisely the blades on a fan when spinning. Here, the system is being used to follow the exact location of this air hockey puck during normal play. Following an air hockey puck? How Canadian is that? For those of you who want to develop physical interfaces on the fly, Voodoo.io is for you. Simply by sticking the appropriate interface control into this surface, the control becomes active, including activating its computer software control equivalent. The secret of this technology is the pincushion surface that provides signal and ground on different layers. why you can even create your own interface to sound mixing software as demonstrated here. Siggraph was a novel browser for three-dimensional architectural designs. By moving its LCD panel over the plan of a building, a 3D interior view of the building appears on the screen so one can see how it looks inside from that location. This mixed reality interface was useful for Nonya. By moving the physical models around on the table, one can get a better sense of how they fit in a computerized 3D space. Neat. People were really enthralled by this VR robotic display. What you saw through the 3D glasses was this. But when the model asked you to shake her burning hand, what you actually shook was this. And speaking of hands, Copycat Hand was just the opposite kind of exhibit. Using standard video cameras as a motion capture device, these eerie-looking skeletal hands would copy the motion of a human hand being provided by a demonstrator. Scary. Bubble Cosmos was kinda neat. It projected images onto a bubble filled with smoke and then changed the sound and image when you broke the bubble. As I got close to Siggraph's art gallery, I noticed how Pong had come a long way since the days of Atari. Check this out. A camera tracks their movement, so these guys are playing Pong on their cell phones, using them as both the viewing device and the paddle. In Siggraph's art gallery, this person is being digitized by a live camera, and his image is being reconstructed using broadcast television signals. Well, I guess there's more than one way to get into broadcasting. And speaking of shape-shifting, this ever-changing liquid sculpture is actually composed of a magnetic fluid. This puts the term magnetic media under a whole new light. Well, that's it for Nonya, but not for the show. There was sure a lot to see at Siggraph. So until next time, this is Nonya Nerd, Canada's favorite nerd, saying thank you And we'll see you at the next Siggraph convention.